We all remember the infamous rock band Kiss. Well, imagine growing up with frontman Gene Simmons as your dad. My name is Elizabeth Alfano, host of the TV show, web series, and podcast, The Celebrity Dinner Party. Actress, singer, host, and philanthropist Sophie Simmons joins me at the Sunset Marquee in Los Angeles today to dish on growing up with Gene, the ultimate rocker, her own singing career, and her work with Adore.me.com and Refinery29 around positive body image. So what to serve a gorgeous gal on her way to the top? I've ordered in some of the best dishes from the Cavatina restaurant at the Sunset Marquee. We have charred octopus, yellowtail with pickled mushrooms over crispy rice, seared tuna with fennel vinaigrette, and spiced Marcona almonds. And what could go better with this than Kendall Jackson's Vintner's Reserve Pinot Gris? Barrel-aging stainless steel fermentation retains Pinot Gris' vivid fruit qualities and bright, juicy texture, enhancing the pear, honeydew, and tangerine flavors inherent to the grape. Its ripe citrus flavors with rich aromas of tropical mango, melon, and juicy peach bring out the bright flavors and layered texture. So sit tight and grab your own glass of Kendall Jackson wine. After a quick word about podcasts and a word from Chef's Choice and Kendall Jackson Winery, I'll be right back with Sophie Simmons. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, The Dinner Party with Elizabeth Alfano, on iTunes. Just search for The Dinner Party, or if SoundCloud is your thing, you can find me there too by searching for The Dinner Party. Subscribe and you'll never have to hunt for great, engaging interviews again. They'll just land on your computer or your iPhone every time a new podcast comes out. So subscribe now to The Dinner Party podcast with me, Elizabeth Alfano, because the best conversations really do happen over dinner. Kendall Jackson is a proud sponsor of The Dinner Party podcast with Elizabeth Alfano. Kendall Jackson believes it's not what you're drinking to, it's who you're drinking with. Before your next dinner party, visit kj.com to explore Kendall Jackson's diverse collections of high-quality California wines, from Vintner's Reserve Chardonnay, America's favorite Chardonnay for more than 24 years, to their newest release of Vineyard Designate wines. Kendall Jackson's got a wine you'll love. Enjoy Kendall Jackson responsibly. Kendall Jackson Winery, Santa Rosa, California. Chef's Choice is the brand you can trust for all your sharpening needs. Chef's Choice highly acclaimed knife sharpeners are used by home chefs, professionals, and outdoor enthusiasts around the world. Chef's Choice has a passion to create the very best. Whether you're seeking advanced engineered waffle makers, kettles, food slicers, knife sharpeners, and more, Chef's Choice is the brand you can trust. For more information, visit chefschoice.com or call 800-342-3255. Facebook Live, thanks for joining us. We are right on time this time. Sometimes we run a tad bit late, but not today. Right on time, 12:30. Wonderful Sophie Simmons is here with me today. I should say blogger, fashionista, singer, actress Sophie Simmons. I think basically nobody does more than you.
I do a lot of things, that's for sure.
An incredible schedule. You know, I sort of understand how you leapt into singing. So, of course, you grew up with Gene Simmons as your dad. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I was a Kiss fan when I was young. I mean, who wasn't? But,
yeah.
You know, I had all the stuff, and I had, you know, big LPs, and I collected it. I went to concerts. And in my mind, as a young kid then, I was like, oh, my God, this is so radical. But now when I look at him, and, of course, your mother as well, was it as crazy growing up with him as you would think, or is he a doting dad?
He's just normal. I mean, everyone asks me this question, I
Sure.
feel like, on every interview, but
Of course.
I don't have other parents to compare it to,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Like, if I had them as parents and then other parents, I might be like, oh, it's crazy, but I only have my parents.
Yes.
So it's very normal for me.
Yes, right, sure, of course, your norm. But I sort of see him as a doting dad, and I don't know if he is or not.
Yeah,
but,
he is.
Yeah, yeah. And so has he, because you're a singer in your own right, I should say, you have a luscious voice. People watching probably already know this because they follow you, but you really do. You have a luscious voice. And your cover of Ego is one of my absolute favorites.
Thank you.
But you don't only do covers.
No, I write my own music and I write for other artists as well.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I write for a lot of DJs, and I wrote a song for Rick Ross recently, which was branching out for me.
Yes, right, doing a little rap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when do you think we might get more music?
Original music probably in 2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because you said you were, branching out, doing a little rap, going a little bit larger scale. Do you think what kind of genre might we see in 2017?
I started off growing up listening to jazz, so there's a lot of jazz influence in my music, but I would say that it's alternative pop, but the melodies are just not very straightforward pop melodies.
And so you don't write just the lyrics, you also write the melodies?
Yeah, everything.
Wow. I'm always fascinated with the creative process. How long does it take you for one song? Or do you write several songs at a time?
It depends. I have on my phone like a million voice notes of songs that I just hear in my head throughout the day, and then I sing into my phone, and when I go into the studio, we'll either pick one of those and build off of it or start a completely new song. But it can take anywhere from like an hour if you just have the complete idea to like 12 hours if you're really struggling with it. It just kind of depends on the day.
Yeah, I think that's so cool how the creative process works. You might have one kernel that just instantly comes together, and then you might have something else that you might like simmer and it's not right and it's not right, and then 3 months down the road, you just never know how it's going to work out, which is sort of the beauty of iPhones, that you can be there all the time and have a note and a note to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes the melody will be really clear, but you don't know what you want to say, and that's usually the hardest part. Is you've got what you want it to sound like, but you don't have a story yet to tell. So maybe you hold on to that melody until a later date when you've maybe experienced something new, and then you put that story to it.
I say this all the time because, of course, you're on a show called The Dinner Party, so I always have food around when I host people. But I think food is a lot like that. Like, you might have one kind of taste that you want to get out, but you don't know what it's going to go with. Is it grain or pasta or whatever? I don't want to oversimplify the music process in any way, shape, or form, but all that is to say, I understand what you mean about layering. Sort of, you might have melody but not story, or there's a sound or a part of a sound, even like a chord that you love, or a chord in combination with another chord, but that's all you've got at the time. So, and then it's finding that right pairing. Or
I would say also with cooking, usually you do it by yourself, and with songwriting, most of the time you're co-writing with people, and you're in rooms with people you've never met before, and to be able to open up to them about an experience you've had and be honest about it so that the song can sound good is a really tough thing for a lot of people.
I can see that. I actually didn't realize it was with people you wouldn't know. Usually I think of like a producer that you've chosen because you like their technique.
Sometimes you work with the same people over and over if you really vibe with them and they really understand you, but it's good to write with new people because you just get a new sound every time.
Yes.
Because everyone influences what you bring to the table and vice versa.
Yes.
So usually you'll come in and they'll say like, tell me something that's happened to you in your life recently, and you have to just be really honest about it and unashamed.
In a way, jealous isn't the right word, but I think the life of an artist is very hard in the sense that it's not 9 to 5. You don't know when you're going to hit it or not hit it. It's very sporadic. But I think most people search their entire lives to be able to get out what they really want to say. And they don't maybe have that tool set, or they don't have a way of doing that. And I think for the artists that can get out what they really want to say to a large group of people and hopefully impact them can be really gratifying. and in that sense, a privilege. You know, and not some people, you know, way into their 50s, they feel that they still haven't connected. So,
right,
it's a nice place to be in. Well, okay, so of course you have music, but that's not the only thing that you do. I know in the past you've done some fashion, and you still have your fashion blog, No Filter.
Yep.
Before I said unfilter, so No Filter. And then you do a lot of work with Refinery29 and AdoreMe.com. So how did that come together? I'm going to take a bite of food, by the
please.
way,
it was kind of a random thing because I never really considered myself like a model because I'm just not a size 0, and I grew up in like 90s supermodel era, and if you're not a 0, like you're not modeling.
Don't count.
You don't count.
Yes,
yeah.
I get that.
And about 2 years ago, I had a modeling agency approach me, One Models out of New York, about plus size modeling or swimsuit modeling, in which case you can be a little more curvy. But still, you know, not too much because it's fashion, so there's all these rules.
Yes.
But I signed with them, and through them, they contacted Adore Me, and Adore Me is an online lingerie retailer that does all sizes of lingerie. Literally,
know them well.
Literally all size. And what makes them so special is you can order online specifically your size, and it comes in a set so that you know it'll fit you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they don't have like, these are the sizes we carry. You can say like, this is my band size, this is my cup size, and they'll have it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that
which is
cool.
great, and kind of went with the message that I do with Refinery29, which is that really all body types are beautiful, and it's basically about whatever makes you happy. And for some people that's plastic surgery, and for some people that's being all natural, and it's different for everyone, but the point is to not judge anyone for wanting to be happy.
Right. And these are linked, of course, for feeling good in your own skin. And of course that's one of the elements of happiness. It's crazy, but like 15 years ago, I got a fortune cookie, and I opened it, and it said, know who you are and be great at it. And I taped that to my bathroom mirror, and I still have it, because the minute you try to be something, you're never going to be any better than you are. Like what you've got is who you are. That's what you've got. You can't be anything else. And as soon as you try to do that, you disempower yourself. And the sooner you like go with what you've got and just rock that, the better it goes. So I find, at least. So I love that fortune cookie, and I've had it forever. But when it comes down to it, self-confidence is like the best beauty tool there is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And it comes down to everything: how you walk, how you dress, how you speak, how you carry yourself. It just translates over into all aspects of your life.
So you do a lot online. Refinery29, as far as I know, is only YouTube, right?
It's only online, yeah.
Online based. So, and you basically connect with a demographic, I'm going to say that's 22 to 28?
Pretty young, yeah. Pretty young. We even get teenage girls. We even have 30-year-olds. Like, it's just, what's so great about Refinery29 is it's really just a platform built for women.
Right.
Of all ages. Because we all, no matter how old we are, struggle with mostly the same things.
Yes, and so I wanted to talk to you about that. So when I was growing up, again, I was a Kiss fan, so that sort of tells you like my era. When I was growing up, so my first job out of school was at a Fortune 500 company, and women were not allowed to wear pantsuits because it was too threatening to their male counterparts. We had to wear nylons because bare skin was just offensive or upsetting. I'm not sure, honestly, but very strict rules about what women could and couldn't be. And I feel in so many ways that we've come a long way. So now in conversations we talk about being fluid and being like, does gender even matter? Who cares? It's just a rolling scale. Let's just go with that. So, you know, in some ways I feel like, wow, that's great. We've come so far. And then sometimes I feel like when my girlfriends and I are getting together, we're all like, okay, how many more years are we going to continue to dye our hair? Well, why are we still dyeing our hair? Like, it's obvious. Like, anyone who's over the age of 35, that's not their natural hair color, you know? So,
but I would argue that the point is to do whatever makes you happy.
Right.
And if having gray hair makes you self-conscious and not want to talk to people when you're out and like affects your physicality and your emotional state, then you should go for it, dye your hair. And the point is, who cares?
Right.
As long as you're happy with it.
Well, I think they're all struggling with that because they're all so tired of dyeing their hair because it's been, a long time.
But also, I think the struggle is more with just like growing older socks, and no one likes doing it.
Yeah.
But the point is not to compare yourself to people that are younger or older than you, but to just be yourself.
And so with that thought, do you feel, because you're talking to so many people in this online platform, do you feel that we've made progress in that way? So like I'm saying, my generation, we're still wrestling with like, should I dye my hair or not? Gosh, why am I still bothering to do this? Because everyone will look at me differently, and not, so there's that hesitation about rocking it. Because basically as soon as you own it, it looks good. You just got to own it first. Do younger women sort of own it easier? Not dyeing your hair, but just any sort of insecurity.
No, I would say, especially with millennials coming up, that we have more comparisons to us than ever before because of social media and how accessible everyone is now.
Right.
Like before, Kate Moss was just Kate Moss and she's in a magazine, but now she's in my hand on my phone.
Right.
And that's a direct comparison for me.
Right.
Her photo is side by side with mine.
Right. Oh.
So it's such a different world.
Yes.
And in some ways, we've come so far with telling women that they can do whatever they want. And then in some ways, like in France, we're telling women that they can't wear burqas.
I see.
And
I
it's
see what you're
and
saying.
it's that
Yes.
struggle. So do you let women wear and dye their hair and do whatever they want to their bodies and call that feminism? And then on the flip side of that, tell someone that they can't wear something that covers them up.
Right.
I feel like that's a counterpoint.
Right. A
I
double
feel like
standard.
if you want to wear a burqa, you should be able to, no matter what the reason. And if you want to be nude, you should be able to, no matter what the reason. If you want to dye your hair, if you don't want to dye your hair, there should be no one at this point, I feel like, in history telling you what you can or can't do as a woman.
Right. Or as a man, I would say.
Or as a man, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. 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 So I sort of see 2 points to that conversation: what a government or a society might dictate, and then what rules we impose on ourselves. And social media has that, competitive perhaps isn't the right word, but you can't help but, go on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, Instagram, and you see the great lives, great in quotation marks here, that everyone's living, because everyone has this profile, persona that they're putting out into the world. And do we limit ourselves in a way by, if people really cared, they wouldn't Photoshop their pictures, right? And a lot of people do.
I disagree. I think Photoshop is a tool that comes with photography and with the evolution of that, and you should have fun with it or whatever, but it's just the honesty portion that I have trouble with. If you Photoshop your photos, just say you do it and say, I thought it made the photo look better.
Right.
Whatever. You're not taking scissors to your body and Photoshopping yourself. Like, it's just a picture. But we become so engaged with our photos that we're blurring the line between this is an online brand and this is the person.
Yes.
Your social media should be a representation of the brand that you want to portray to the public. And because of that, you do have to be conscious of what future jobs might say. If you're in the public eye like I am, you have to be careful of what other brands might say if you want to do a collaboration. And there is that worry of what other people think. But I would say, because of how our society is still structured, if you're in corporate America, things like Photoshop and selfies and social media are maybe not the best thing, because corporate America is not caught up with liberal America and do whatever you want, live your life.
Right. Right. Yes. And you want to leave a trail you're proud of anyway.
Yeah.
And I have to say, a friend of mine, I remember like 5 years ago, he said, okay, I'm calling it here. People are going to pay to go dark, turn off all your, to have all their digital devices go off so that they get an hour, like almost protecting them from themselves. Like they can't be trusted to turn off their own phones. So they want their phones to go dark, and they would pay for the service because you're going to need some downtime. And I'm actually a very private person, despite the fact that I do this. And I'm not on social media all the time, excuse me, because sometimes I don't want to be putting out a brand. I just want to be myself. And that's often me and my animals. And I don't know, I just want to be there with my animals. I don't want to be telling people that I'm with my animals. I actually just want to be with them.
And you don't have to.
I don't.
And that's the choice. that we all get to make, thankfully. No one's forcing you to be on social media.
Right.
But there is this pressure to be on it, because now when you apply for jobs or you work for a company, they want the person who's going to influence the most amount of people. Especially if you're going into entertainment, if you're a model or a singer or an actress, they want to hire the person who's going to reach a wider audience, because regular advertising in magazines and on billboards just aren't working like they were.
Right.
But social media seems to be working better. I mean, we have Facebook Live, and more people tune into this than tune into like The Walking Dead, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
But
thank you.
Crazy. But thanks. So the way we advertise is changing, and the way we portray our lives online is changing. But I would offer up to people the thought that your online life is not your real life, and it's purposeful.
Yes.
Because your online life is a brand,
right,
like Coca-Cola or Voss or whatever.
Right.
You're a brand.
Yes.
And that is not you. So you have to be conscious and consistent with that brand.
Yes.
But keeping in mind that that is not the life you are living.
I think it's very helpful for you to say it out loud like that, because I think a lot of people know it, but just hearing those words and clarifying that concept, which is a bit of a tricky concept because you don't want to lead a duplicitous life. It can be confusing. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're mindful that those are really two separate things, it maintains the level of authenticity.
Absolutely. And even if you're not in entertainment and you have social media, a lot of people don't realize that you're offering yourself up to be a public figure.
Right.
And that's where, young women and men get in trouble with online bullying and things like that, because you don't realize that as a celebrity or a person who does a radio show or whatever, you're offering yourself up for criticism and for comparison, and that's fine because you've signed up for that. But there's a lot of young men and women who sign up for social media thinking that this is their life,
right,
and then get criticized for it, when you should really cut that and say, this isn't my life, this is my brand. And then it's less emotional, it's less offensive.
Are you saying that even for like high school students?
Absolutely. I think if you have a public social media platform, you are a public figure.
It's public.
You are a public figure, and you're letting strangers
yes,
look at your brand and then getting personally offended about it.
Right.
And we're not educating young people enough on that topic.
I think that's so helpful, again, to have you clarify such what would seem to be a concept we should all kind of know, but it's really good to kind of pinpoint the definitions of it, because I think particularly, I certainly know when I was in high school, I would have been going back and forth between person and brand, let's say, without stop, because it can be confusing. If you're not sort of schooled in advertising and you're 14,
right,
it's confusing. But I think you're absolutely right. You want to be conscientious about what you put out to the world, because you just never know. Not just the feedback of, oh, I don't like your hair today or something, which of course would be very hurtful, but predators of any sort. I mean, you just don't really know what's out. So.
Yeah, exactly. I would think advice I give to high school students all the time is to think about a passion you have and then just make that your online brand, and it's a safer way so that you're not giving too much of yourself to social media, because we like authenticity and we like watching it, but like high school for me was like volleyball was my thing. I loved it. That's all I did. So I would recommend that someone who was like me in high school just stick to volleyball on social media. And then you realize, like, this is just my brand. This isn't like me and my parents, this isn't me and my pets, this isn't, it's not so personal, and you kind of make a little bit of a distance between you and your social media life.
I think that's great advice, period. Social media or not. Find your passion and just go with that. That always leads you in the right direction. And the sooner you find it, the better it is, usually. But speaking about online profiles, and you never know what's out there. So what have you been thinking about this election?
It's definitely interesting. What's great about it is more than ever we're talking about it, and part of that is because of social media, and we have this wide platform where millions of people can comment on an election, whereas before, like, maybe some people tune into the debate, maybe not, but now we have Twitter feeds updating us, and we have Instagram updating us, and even if you didn't watch the whole debate, like, you're kind of getting the whole story through that,
absolutely,
which is fantastic. But also more than ever before, young people are not voting.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which makes no sense.
That makes no sense.
And it's a worldwide thing, hence the British exit.
Right, yeah.
The young people wanted to stay, the older generation wanted to leave, but the young people didn't vote.
I see, yeah.
And then got upset about it. So you can't complain about wanting change and the election and tweet about it and not actually go out and do something.
Absolutely. I actually thought more young people were voting because they got behind Bernie Sanders.
No, because I think that's just a social media phenomenon. It was just cool to say you were.
Oh.
But if the election had been that day, like, would millennials have, like, left their homes, put down their phones, registered? And part of it's because they make it so hard to vote.
I understand. Yeah.
Now, at least you can register on Facebook, tells you, please register today, and they make it somewhat easy.
Yes.
But it's so many steps before you get to vote that I think young people are used to, like, push a button, I voted, I liked it or
Scan
I didn't like
yes.
it, that's it. And so there has to be an evolution in the way we vote for public office to get young people involved in it. So Facebook's doing a good job of offering up the registration, but would be really helpful would be to, after you register right then and there, cast your votes.
Yes, right, yeah.
And there really is
online.
no online way to do it. And getting young people to physically go run an errand is really hard. And I know because I just did the same. I was like, man, I'm going to be on the cruise the same day as the election. I got to register for vote by mail. And it was like a whole like hours and hours process to just get to vote.
I know. I had to call the city of Chicago twice. And I was
it's absurd.
Where's my
And you're like, you got to send my ballot. I'm not there, blah, blah, blah. And it's so complicated when you should just be able to either like walk in with your state ID and vote at any station. And then they input you into the computer and say, this person's already voted.
Right, yeah.
Or get to vote online. But like how I know it's a security risk to vote online, but it's also anytime you vote it could be rigged this way or the other way, so why not give us that option?
Right, yeah. I don't know if it's just the overhaul that is needed and they're just not there.
It would be interesting because you'd save actually so many man hours and so much paper.
Yes, right.
And because even all the vote by mails that go in, you're paying people to count them.
Absolutely.
And then they're not even getting counted in time.
And human error in counting.
Exactly.
I mean, that just, yeah. No, there's so much in the election process that needs to be ameliorated and updated. I know, I remember when Geraldine Ferraro was running and it was such a big deal at the time, but I still feel like it's great that Hillary's running, but we have a long way to go. I feel when I watch her against Donald Trump, I just feel like, a man would not have to put up with so much of what she has to put up with just because she's female. So I still feel like we have a long way to go there. I mean,
I also think, though, you should have to take a test before you run for president.
I think you should get a psychological exam.
I think there should be some requirement.
Clearly, that's needed.
But there should be some the only requirement now is that you're born in the United States.
Right.
There should, I feel like, absolutely be an age requirement, an experience requirement, a certain amount of years in politics at a state level before you're allowed to run a country.
Obviously.
There should be a certain level of education. And that's not to hate on people that haven't finished high school, because my mom didn't. And she's more than qualified to be president, I feel like, at this point.
We're writing her in.
But there should be an education requirement, because if you don't have that basis of education, how could you possibly understand world politics?
Of course.
On a level that doesn't relate to history?
As well as experience. If you don't have experience with foreign diplomats, how are you going to be able to negotiate whatever treaty is at hand and understand the historical ramifications because of what happened 50 years prior?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And as I said before, I feel like a psychological test is definitely needed as well. But so, I'll be voting for sure. Everyone go vote. Everyone go vote. So on a lighter note, and I know we're wrapping up because you have some rehearsal to go to.
I do.
Tell us about the Kiss
rehearsal.
Cruise.
Kiss Cruise is November 4th through the 9th.
Sold out, I think, right?
It's sold out.
Yeah. Sorry, peeps.
It sells out like minutes after going
every
online,
year.
which is crazy.
We're all still fans.
Yeah, but you can get in there for next year.
Yeah.
It's the 6th year. I think they're doing at least a couple more because we just keep selling them out.
Yeah, it's great.
But basically it's like a mini music festival on a boat.
It's wonderful.
Which is such a neat idea.
It is
that you can
wonderful.
go to different stages on the boat and hear different acts perform.
Yeah.
And then you have your headliner for the festival, which
Yeah.
is, of course, Kiss.
Yeah.
Such
Great.
a neat idea.
It is.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Where does the cruise start from and go?
It starts in Miami, and hopefully, if there's no storm, we go to Cozumel and then Cayman Islands and back. But there have been years prior where we were supposed to go to Jamaica or something, and there was a hurricane, so you just go down to Mexico instead.
Whoops.
Like, you go with the flow. But most days you're on the boat, you're only off the boat for 2 of the days. So it doesn't really matter where we go because everyone's getting the entertainment.
That's so wonderful. I love the idea. It's so wonderful. Well, of course, you're on a show called The Dinner Party, so a couple quick foodie questions.
Yeah, sure.
Favorite snack? So when you're running around from rehearsal or you're an acting audition or at the studio?
Yeah. Broccoli is my favorite food, but that's hard to like bring with you.
Wow,
You know what I
broccoli.
mean?
I don't like to eat broccoli.
I just love it, and I've
You're
loved it my
joking.
whole life, like just by itself.
Raw or
No,
cooked? Okay,
Cooked.
cooked.
Yeah. That's hard to bring with you, and like my guilty pleasure is to go through a drive-through of fast food and get a big Diet Coke out of the fountain.
Okay.
Because for some reason it's like
a little different.
bubblier and like
Totally.
better out of the fountain.
Okay.
And I try not to drink so much Diet Coke because it's not the best for you, but like that's my guilty, like if I'm going to go to rehearsal for 6 hours, I'm going to have a big Diet Coke
my
and
God.
just like,
So
yes.
I recently went vegan, so I can no longer have my guilty pleasure, but I could eat frosting like right out of the can.
Oh, yeah.
Or even better if it's homemade. That thing will not see the cake.
Have
and
you
it goes
been to
right in the bowl?
Veggie Grill and or Crossroads?
Oh, I love Crossroads.
Yeah, Crossroads is fantastic.
They know me.
It's one of my
Yeah.
favorites. Yeah.
I love Crossroads. What's the other one?
Veggie Grill.
Where is it?
It's a chain. There's multiple, and there's one right up on Sunset and Laurel.
Okay.
But it's basically like a faster food, and they have vegan and vegetarian options, but the entire restaurant is dairy-free.
Oh, that's
So they have this carrot cake that has amazing frosting, and it is dairy-free frosting.
Oh. Well, then I
Yeah.
could just buy frosting too, which would be
Yeah.
great. And the carrot cake.
Yeah.
But I always like to have like an extra heaping of frosting. And do you cook at all?
I do, yeah.
So what do you like to make?
I like to make pastries.
Oh, wow. So you're a good cook.
Yeah, I went to
Oh.
Paris. I went to the Cordon Bleu because I was like, I want to be a chef when I was younger, and my parents were like, "Go be a chef." They just let me go to Paris, which is like I guess most parents wouldn't do,
Yeah.
but
Well,
they were cool enough about it.
how old were you?
17, I think.
Oh, what a great time in Paris.
It was really fun. I went with my best friend, and we both learned how to cook.
So of course you did pastries, man.
We did pastries. Yeah, I think there's something like more satisfying about it because they're just really pretty when you're done.
are.
Like as much as I love like cooking fish and stuff, it's never like as pretty
Yeah.
as when you make a cake and it's like
Yes.
gorgeous.
Oh, wow. So you bake at home. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, so I always say on my podcast, but it's true for me. So I've become fixated on knives and the sharpness of my knives because
Oh, that's a big chef thing. Yeah.
it's, and you know, I never used to before. I was prided myself on I love to cook at home and I do and I love to entertain and I
The
do
knife's
dinner
got to
myself.
be sharp. That's a thing.
It's a real thing. And now if it's not sharp, I just feel like, okay, who's playing a trick on me? Like I can't do this.
Right.
This knife is not sharp.
Yeah,
Like,
chefs are really weird about their knives.
yeah, and I've gotten like that because I cook a lot at home. You know, in Chicago, where I'm from originally, we don't have a lot of vegan food. So I cook a lot at home to make sure that I can do it myself and
Right.
keep the dairy out, keep the butter out and stuff. So the more veggies I have, the more I'm chopping all the time.
Right.
And I've just gotten hyper like, you know, Nazi chef about like, that knife won't work and did you sharpen it? Don't bring me anything that's not sharp.
Right. Do you have your own knife sharpener?
Well, yeah, and the thing
Yeah.
is, this is good. It sounds like it's a plug. It's not. It's the truth. I went to them and I asked them to be a sponsor because I was using their knife
Amazing.
sharpener.
That's so
much.
funny.
Chef's choice.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I've got it right there. Well, it's right there, but
It's
I also
pretty
have
fast,
it-
yeah.
It's
Just
super.
like-
it takes no time.
Yeah.
And but it saves so much time.
a
in the
world of
kitchen.
difference, yeah.
It's a world of difference. Okay, final question for you before we let you run to rehearsal. You're on the show called The Dinner Party. So if you could have a dinner party with anyone, dead or alive,
Oh,
who might you want to have?
that's so tough because I think everyone's got so many unanswered questions. So I would want to like meet with the Einsteins of the world and
Right.
you know ask relativity questions and you know like weird things like that. But
Yeah.
then I also like want to be super selfish and meet with like people that I think are just super attractive. So it's like a toss up.
Yes.
Like,
One of each. Who's super
One of
attractive
each.
that you'd like to meet with?
oh, so many people right
Yes.
now. I've always been a Guy Pearce fan.
Oh, huh.
I just love his acting.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's attractive to me.
yeah.
Or like maybe everyone says Brad Pitt, so I don't want to give him another one. He has enough. Maybe like a Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
Yeah. I really want to have, and I always say this, besides the obvious, like Eleanor Roosevelt, I really want to have her.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who are like, I just want to ask you so many questions. And then there's people that I just want to look at when I eat dinner.
Yes, right, as well, the two sides.
Yeah.
I really want to have Lady Gaga and Martin Scorsese, because
Martin Scorsese is a good one.
Wasn't that a good one?
Yeah.
And I think they'd have a lot in common, and they don't know each other. And I like to bring people together who don't know each other. And they're different ages.
Yeah.
And so I think that, and she's obviously music and he's film, and so I think there's this cross-pollination of creativity that could happen, and generational.
She's also a fantastic actress.
Yes,
so that's a good.
She's, right.
Yeah.
And he's just an interesting guy, so.
Yeah.
All right, so the next dinner party I have, Martin Scorsese, Lady Gaga, and you. And
Perfect.
So I'll let you know. And if I get Brad Pitt, baby, I will call you as well. Thanks for joining in on The Celebrity Dinner Party with me, Elizabeth Alfano. To stay in the know, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at DinnerPartyCHGO, and on Facebook at The Dinner Party and at Elizabeth Alfano. To subscribe to this podcast, find The Celebrity Dinner Party on iTunes and on SoundCloud. And if you want to send me an email about today's podcast or anything else, you can find all my information at thedinnerparty.tv. The editor of The Celebrity Dinner Party is Joshua Snyder. The original music is by the Websters and Ship Captain Crew. But of course today, we have music from Sophie Simmons with her cover of Take Me to Church. Thanks for listening today, and join me on the next Dinner Party podcast where the best conversations happen over dinner.